This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Good afternoon, everyone. The rain here has finally subsided. It's slightly overcast, but at least we're not wet and soggy for the afternoon. We received a lot of rainfall last night. Big thunderstorms. But anyway, we're here. The sun may pop out, and we're going to go for a bumble. So that's that time, everyone, for your live safari through the African bush. Welcome aboard, everyone. It's an absolute pleasure to have you here with us. And we are finally out. We just could not get out this morning. The ground is waterlogged. We received over 120 mils last night. Lots of thunder, lots of lightning. It wasn't an easy night to try and sleep. My name is Lauren, and on camera today, it gives me great pleasure to announce that I have Marcello. Not only is he a cameraman, he's also our tech expert. Yes, that's Marcello. So we're just admiring these impala on quarantine. Why? Well, apparently there's 2 bambas, and what that means is 2 kills. There's a kill right next to our camp. In fact, it's probably in our camp that Andrew's going to investigate. There's also another kill on the southern boundary that I'm going to investigate. But sometimes it's nice to just stop, stay still, and figure out if you can see or hear anything around. So of course, this is your live safari. It's happening as you see it. Therefore, you must talk to us. Please, please talk to us. Send in your lovely comments and questions using the hashtag WildEarth on Twitter, @FC on the YouTube chat stream, or head over to wildearth.tv/explorers. And kids, most importantly, you must talk to us. Send your emails to kidssquestions@wildearth.tv. Now, I don't know if we're in store for any more rain. There's lots of dark clouds. I hope not, but there's definitely a chance. It's 25 degrees Celsius and 77 degrees Fahrenheit, so it's quite pleasant. It's definitely not chilly, but I think it's time to go and investigate that bamba. What do you think, Marcel? Yes, let's go. We're going to have to be careful what roads we go to. We're not allowed to off-road. We definitely can't go on dam walls. So we're going to take it very, very easy and go and investigate who made that kill.
Good afternoon, good afternoon everybody. This afternoon, very cloudy still here in Tswalu Game Reserve. As you can see, Impala is still way off since we can't actually off-road right now where the ground is very wet. All we're trying to avoid not to disturb the soil also is not to get stuck. And this is actually, it's going to be the plan. My name is Andrew. On camera I have Simon this afternoon. So we're planning to check on the western side of the camp here, and I know with the kill that has been discovered on top of the tree where we think maybe it's a young impala hosted by who, we're not sure. Could be Talamba, could be or another leopard. But it's close to the camp there. I think it's not easy for that leopard to return even though she's around until maybe it's dark. Due to probably a lot of pollution noises and things like that from the camp. So now we're looking at the impala. And they are also having a good time. Impala, they're one of the animals that they also forget quite quickly whenever they see something happen. Like 3 hours ago, 2 hours ago. And once they move out of the scene and everything's gone away from their mind again, they start a new life. But we're looking at the bachelor group of impalas over here. So remember everyone to talk to us. We're coming to you live from this area, Juma. You can go through question, ask question through kids questions at wildearth.tv, also at hashtag wildearth. FC. This is on YouTube channel. Also worldearth.tv/an-explorer. So there you're able to connect with us, able to get to know, ask any question that you'd like to know about this animal we have right there. And it looks like they're all having their good time, but they're moving now into very thick, or not actually thick, is that, we can't go any further following them there until maybe we take another road. But we'll see many of the impala because they're everywhere. So if we come across them, it's fine. We can going to see them again. But the rain brings quite a lot of happiness for all animals, but for us as well, because without a wet, where the animal's not healthy, then we don't have animal, then we don't have excitement, we don't have anything. So I'm going to carry on, move around, search, linking you over to Pinda.
Welcome to and Beyond Pinda Private Game Reserve. As you can see, we have found a herd of buffalo that are just sneaking off to our left. You can see we've been very lucky here. We've got quite a bit of water. We've had a bit of rain here in the last few days. You can see that one walking off to the left has got a bit of mud on the top of its horns, so it's just been enjoying a really nice mud wallow. My name is Kim, and behind the camera we have Owen, and we will be with you this afternoon. Sorry about that. So this afternoon we have decided to look for some cheetah. We're going to go into an open area where they were last seen. They haven't been seen in a few days. We're going to go and see if we can find them. The mother with that one little cub, and also the female that we are trying to rewild from a shear. So this herd of buffalo have just disappeared behind the corner. As you can see, it's very, very wet over that side. So it's just oh, you can actually hear them. Listen to that. Just hear them disappearing behind the bushes there. So it's just a bit too wet for us to follow them here. We'll definitely get stuck or at least do some damage to the road. So we're not going to try and follow them. We're going to head to those open areas and see if we can find some cheetah this afternoon. It's a really, really nice warm day. There's a light breeze out here. So hopefully some good conditions for us to be looking for some animals. And we're hoping, especially after the rains, a lot of the animals that are quite territorial, they might be out later this evening trying to re-scent mark their territories after all that rain has washed away that prominent scent. Things like rhino, leopard, anything that scent marks its territory with a prominent smell will probably be out re-scent marking on those bushes. So we're going to have a look for signs of those animals as well. You can hear the birds starting to call a little bit. So I think that's what we're going to do. We're going to head off and we're going to send you to another live location in the meantime.
Good afternoon and welcome to Tswalu. At the moment we're enjoying the view of the Koranenberg Mountains and the big vast open plains. My name is JP Leroux and behind the camera we've got Davi. Our plans for this afternoon is again to head further east and then to go and scour some of the water holes for some actions. As we spoke to some of the guides this morning, there were some tracks of lions in that area. Lana, it's exceptionally green at the moment, and also what we sometimes forget is that this part of the country is also referred to as the Green Kalahari. And so far we've had an excessive amount of rain for this season, and we've also seen that there's a number of plant species that only will flower and start growing once there has been sufficient rain. One of these is a gemsbok cucumber, as well as summer melons, which will only occur within this area after above average rainfall. One of the other plant species that we normally find a little bit later once the rain season has come to an end is a truffle that grows under the ground. And these are often detected by very well-experienced trackers. And these also only grow once there's been sufficient rain within the Kalahari. These Kalahari truffles are also quite often used within cooking, and then recently also within certain gins where it's been infused into the gin to create a unique aroma and taste. From here, we're going to continue to Brevard and go and see if we can find anything around the dam.
Join our Explorers program so we can keep on sharing nature with the world. For a monthly subscription, you will have the opportunity to win fantastic Wild Earth expeditions, have access to an animal identification app, receive weekly highlights from our shows, and much more. All the money will go to keeping these live safaris on air, which in turn connects a global population with nature.
My name is TAYLA MCCURDY and I work for Eco Training. I love hearing from all of the viewers. However, I particularly enjoy those of you who have been watching for a few years. Your questions are just so advanced and they really get me thinking. If you'd like to ask a question on Wild Earth, you need to register on our website. Once you've done that, head to the Live Safari page and submit your questions below the live feed.
Wild Earth is launching our brand new Explorer program with an opportunity to win a very special Wild Earth expedition. The lucky winner will get a behind-the-scenes Wild Earth experience at the magnificent and beyond Ngala Tainted Safari Camp. The prize includes a 3-night stay for you and a friend with a chance to sleep out in the unique Ngala treehouse. Become a Wild Earth Explorer and stand a chance to win this and many other prizes. Terms and conditions apply.
What makes Untitled Private Game Reserve so special is our massive array of habitats. And with that comes, of course, a beautiful diversity of landscapes, but also an incredible biodiversity in terms of plants, bird life and animal life, as well as, of course, our conservation success stories with cheetah, with rhinos, now with pangolins too.
Catch up with the guides daily here on Wild Earth.
Treehouse Dam, everyone. Look how full this dam is. It's incredible. I just want to put a stick in. I'm not brave enough to walk in. Don't worry, the hippo's not here. We've done a check. But it is absolutely full. It's not quite bursting yet, but I think if we get a few more days like we did last night, or a few more nights like we did last night, this dam is going to be full. We're not allowed to go on the dam walls, but there's a chance at the other side it could burst. It's quite weak at the other side where you dip down after the wall and it can easily overflow. If it overflows, it goes into the drainage line. So it's not the end of the world, but this dam is so full. I really can't believe it. All from last night. Well over 120 mils we've received, which is absolutely phenomenal. So we're not going to go this way, I'm afraid, because we can't. We need to be very, very sensitive of the landscapes. But we are going to try and check all of our dams on the way to the Bamba site. Wow. I'm just going to try and leave that stick in there. I don't know if I stuck it in well enough, but Ayla, what you have to remember is all the animals out here, from your small little critters to your, will all be used to this necessarily mean they enjoy it. Marcel and I did go out this morning to check on the mast. We actually saw some not happy. They were very, very unhappy elephants. It was quite an unpleasant night because the lightning was right above us. So not only were we getting flashes, it was also incredibly loud. And I think the elephants had just had a very bad night also. So they were not in good moods. So I think they're used to it. This is normal for thunderstorms are completely normal for the low-veld summer, and it brings the moisture that's needed to nourish the land. But whether the animals like it or not, I do not. I imagine the hippos would probably get out and walk about.
Welcome back. So even though some of the herd have disappeared around the corner, we managed to find some buffalo bulls on the outskirts. What's quite interesting is you can see, just based on the condition of this particular bull, he's very old, so unlikely still to be with the herd. They do get kicked out at about 12 to 14 years, and he is well past that. If you have a look at the wrinkles just below his neck, very sagging skin. Also his ears are starting to droop, and also if you have a look at the horns, you can see huge cavities. I mean, there's a massive one on his left horn on the top there. See, all those are signs of age. And even his left ear doesn't even seem to be holding its shape anymore. It's fallen straight down. And what's really interesting about this old bull is if you have a look on the top of the horns, you can see there's some tree shavings there. And what that's from, if we have a look at all those tiny little crevices right along the top ridge, those are caused by horn-boring beetles. Now we often see those beetles and the damage they do on skulls and the horns of dead animals. You can often see that characteristic sort of mud-like structure that they create out of the horns. But here you can see the crevices that they've made on live horns. So they burrow into these horns, and these buffaloes get really annoyed by them and try and scratch them out by pushing down little bushes and really hitting the bushes hard with those horns. You might have seen it a few times before, and you can certainly see the remains of what this buffalo has done here. So he obviously had a really good scratch. Managed to get all those tree shavings right on top there. It's quite sweet, as he also seems to have a tick in his nostril. You look at the left nostril. Definitely something large there. I hope for his sake it's not a tick, but it does seem like it could be. It's got a few little bits of grass also hanging out his mouth. Almost looks like a bucktooth buffalo bull. Little Bugs Bunny. And if we see on our right, you can see another old buffalo bull. And you can see those little bits of bush on the top of his horns as well. You can see how he's losing his fur. So these two are quite old buffalo bulls. And they'll both be kicked out of the herd. Now, the reason they leave, they can get kicked out or they leave. And the reason is because now they're no longer in their prime condition. And as a result of that, they can't compete with younger, fitter males for mating rights. So they are unable to keep up with the herd. They rather either get kicked out by the younger males or they choose to leave by themselves. Now, what you'll notice is that they've got quite grumpy stares. I'm sure you've seen that. So they are known as dugger boys. And the reason is because they don't follow these herds now. They can stay in smaller areas because they're not forced to go follow far distances to find enough food for an entire herd of animals. So as they stay in one small area, they don't have to travel too much. They can feed and spend most of their time mud wallowing. And the Zulu word for mud is dugger. So because you often find them covered in mud, that's why we call them dugger boys. And they are the most grumpy animals to come across on foot. herds of buffalo are fine because they feel very protected in their herd. They feel very safe because the buffalo are one of the few animals where all the animals will actually protect one individual, not only the mother. So if one of them is taken or caught by a lion, generally the males will turn around and charge that animal down, and the herd will follow behind it. So they feel very safe and secure. Now these bulls, once they leave that protection of the herd, feel incredibly vulnerable, and as a result, much more likely to react in an aggressive manner to a threat on foot, even whether it be a human or a lion or anything. Since they have gotten a reputation for being quite grumpy and quite fearsome. I think that one might have lost its eye. Have a careful look. Its left eye, definitely its right eye is still there, but its left eye seemed to have a gaping hole. Oh no, never mind, it was just the angle. It does still have its left eye. Very weepy eye though. Sorry, Jared, I can't copy you on my headset. I'm not copying the questions. If we have a look at what this buffalo is doing now, you can see that it's busy ruminating, so which means that it fed earlier and stored most of that food in its one very large stomach called the rumen, and it now regurgitates it and chews it into a finer powder. Now as you're watching, you can see that it's actually chewing in a circular motion and favoring the one side of the jaw. I think these two buffalo bulls are probably going to stay here for a little while, maybe move around into the shade. Just carry on slowly feeding and ruminating. And we're going to carry on our search for those cheetah. So we're going to leave them for the time being and send you to another live location.
Welcome back to Tswalu. We're just currently looking at a small little uniform dark black bird with little white wing patches when they do fly. These little guys are known as southern ant-eating chats, and as their name implies, ants and termites is one of their favorite meals. So quite often what we do is when we do find them in the winter months, we look at what they are busy doing, because they often associate with aardvark and follow them while they're busy feeding, making it one of the easiest ways of locating aardvark. Just going to see if we can relocate them. It seems that they've flown off. But while we're trying to see if they're going to come back, just something interesting about them, they also make their nests in the roofs of aardvark burrows, just similar to that the shelduck would use an aardvark burrow as a nesting site. Other than that, there's another 14 species of animals that will also use aardvark burrows as dens. Hi Laura, just to answer your question, if they only eat ants, they also eat termites. We're going to continue our search for larger animals, but in the meanwhile, we are passing you on to Lauren, who's currently with a giraffe.
Larger animals, I have one here. a roadblock of all roadblocks. We have the tallest land mammal and the heaviest ruminant in the world in the form of a giraffe. On a southern boundary, it's actually a very, very beautiful sight to see. It's been a little while since I've seen giraffes, to be honest. We do tend to get sort of an influx of giraffes, especially during spring. You can't decide which way to go, can you? I say you turn around and come back into Juma. No, we're not going to. We're going to go into Little Gary. But when those knob thorns start flowering, you'll find that the giraffes are everywhere. You cannot go on a bumble without seeing them. And then they tend to disappear. And that's, of course, because they're not territorial. They roam great distances. Let's see if we can catch up with this one, Marcel. Go a little bit forward. Now, just down here is the dip of the Mulwati. We always drive the Mulwati. There's a dip here, and it was overflowing this morning, completely running. The Mulwati was flowing. So I'm not sure what we're going to find now, but let's just see if we can spend a little bit longer with this giraffe. If the Mulwati is still flowing, we will absolutely share it with you all. Giraffe, where did you go? Ah, here you are. How's that, Marcello? Haxon, you're asking, if I can tell their gender from their body patterns. No, not from the patterns, but you can tell the species. Each species, there's a reclassification of giraffes, and it's quite a recent study, and there's 4 different species now. It was thought to be 1 for quite a while, but now it's definitely 4. You've got the southern giraffe, the Maasai giraffe, the reticulated giraffe, and the northern giraffe, and they do all have different patterns. This is not great visuals, but maybe it'll pop out. So you can tell the species, but not the gender. Gender you would be able to tell from about 3 things. 1, the genitals. If you just have a look at that underside, it's really, really obvious when it's a male. And the size. Males are actually a lot bigger. They're substantially bigger. I mean, a male will weigh maximum 1,500 kilograms. And a female will come in anywhere between 700 and 900. So that's a large difference. And then the ossicones. If you look at the ossicones, females will retain those hair tufts. I can't believe this giraffe is hiding from us. And males will be bald on top because of the necking sport that they do. They will lose the hair that's on top of their ossicones. So you can tell from a variety of features, but you can't get the gender from the pattern. Should we try and go forward a bit, Marcel? Okay. Stuff it. I'm going to come right back to your question once I can figure out how to position for this giraffe. How is that? Okay, there we go. It's probably going to move once again, but they do eat. Oh, Marcel, look what's right in front of us, another giraffe. We didn't see that one. There's another one. I think this one's a female ahead. And they do eat vegetation, trees that have thorns. So, of course, in order to do that, they have to be well equipped. They have to have protection. And they've got very, very thick lips, very long eyelashes, and horny papillae. And that protects the face from all the thorns and branches and trees and all sorts. But the tongue itself is black, and it was always a little bit confusing. Why is his tongue black? And there was all sorts of theories. Possibly it's to protect it from the sun, but actually it's melanin. There's lots of melanin in a giraffe's tongue, and it's not protecting it from the sun at all. melanin makes the tongue go very rubbery and thick, and therefore what is actually happening is that it's protecting the tongue from the vegetation. Their tongue is really, really long, 15 inches, about 45 centimeters, and it's prehensile, which means it's able to grip. So it's not like our tongue, it can actually grip, and therefore the giraffe will utilize different feeding methods. So the melanin is said to be there for protection. But the underside apparently is very, very thick, pink. So it's black on top and pink underneath. So they are protected from the thorns that they will inevitably encounter due to their feeding habits. And this is a very small female here. Females are very petite actually. They're still tall and much larger than us, but when you see them in comparison to a male, they're actually very petite. You see the black tongue? Melanin is a pigment that gives a lot of species the black color in the animal kingdom. Many of you are saying she's so gorgeous. Oh yes. Very graceful animals. You're also going to go into Little Gallery, aren't you? Giraffes are not territorial, and they have a very loose social structure, but they're gregarious. They like to be around their own kind. They like to be around other giraffes. Excuse our rain roof pool. I'm really, really excited to get down into this Mulwati and see if it's still flowing. It was flowing last year. I remember Tristan, Seb and I did a dance in the Mulwati. I'll never forget it. We thought it was a great idea to take our boots off and dance in the river, and then we realised, oh, we're going to have cold, wet feet for the rest of the drive. It wasn't our smartest move, but it was a great memory, and I'm really intrigued to see if it's flowing again. Now we've got a vehicle behind us, everyone, so unfortunately we're going to have to let it pass. And they also probably want to say good afternoon. Good afternoon. Hello. Hello. There we go. So I think we're going to go. We'll let Rexon get up ahead, but I really, really want to see the Mulwati. Marcel saw it this morning and it was overflowing, wasn't it? But it might not be anymore. Let's see. Let's see what we're in store for. Rosalind, I believe giraffes do. There's some reports in various different locations where giraffes have been hit by lightning. So yes, effectively, I believe they do. And of course, of all species, it would be giraffes. It's lightning, wouldn't it? Sorry, I just want to have a good look. Apparently Baboon Pan was overflowing as well, so we can't traverse on this property, but we definitely can admire it. Oh my goodness. Would you look at that? This used to be a very, very tiny circular pan. Tandy used to frequent this area a lot, Sabui frequents it. It's called Baboon Pan. Wow. It's completely broken over and gone way off to the right. It's maybe not the most riveting stuff, but it's really interesting to see how one night of extremely heavy rain can transform the entire landscape. Okay, shall we bumble ahead, Marcello, and see if it's overflowing. It's just right here. So someone, or two someones, killed either last night or this morning, I'm not sure. There's 2 kills. I'm not entirely sure if they've been hoisted, but the culprits can't be found. But sometimes if you can find a kill, you can then just, oh my goodness. Don't think it's flowing quite as heavy as it was flowing this morning. But that is Mulwati, everyone. Dry riverbed.
Sorry about that. So we check the northern boundary, which is a Bevelusuk and a Gari. No sign of any new tracks of a cat. So we continue to check. We're going to check one of the water hole as well to see how maybe it's hippos or out there for us. It's actually been seen a lot of elephant tracks, and I think it was during the rain where they also have done a lot of a scratch on the ground. This is where they were feeding, and then hopefully we'll also find them. And they still love the temperature like these, the elephants, because they don't have to consult waters every now and then. So they would get moisture from what they eat grasses and from the trees itself. These leaves are also very green, and they travel in herds and herds. A lot of time what we've seen here, all different herds come in and out of the reserve. Sometimes which they travel back to Kruger National Park, and when they come back again, they come back in the massive herds. So hopefully we bump on them. There was a lot of tracks that I saw back there, so maybe it's those of herds that often travel in such a massive number. Henry, so you want to know where do leopard hide in the storm weather? If it's not a hail, just a thunder and pouring rain, most of those leopards and lions, unless if they're sitting on a kill, but if it's not, they're more active. And that's where they're more active, because hunting for them, it's 100% opportunity that they trust so much that they can kill. So they will be on hunt a lot of time when it's pouring rain, except when it's like hail and things like that, because it's not easy for them to be mobile. But wind, rain, only they would be moving. But these antelopes at night, those are the ones that they're in trouble, because they're all confused, and even they perch in an open area, they always run around because the wind makes so much of a noise. So I'm going to be carrying on doing this site here. I'm going to be taking you over to Tswalu.
Welcome back to Tswalu. At the moment, we just took a small little walk through the veld, and we came up onto one of the interesting plant species which we do find in this area. The plant that we have over here is known as a Bushman poison bulb, in Afrikaans meaning a gifbol, which translates into a poisonous bulb. The alternative name for this species is a tumbleweed, which I will explain into a moment. So as we've already discovered that the name means Bushman poison bulb, this plant was quite often used by the San hunters, where they would use the bulb for making arrow poison. So one of the interesting things, as we mentioned earlier in one of the shows, is that this poison still does not have any antidote. What we also would find is that the hunters, once wounded an animal with this, would have to still track and run the animal down. This is where the important skill of tracking came in for the San hunters to locate that animal. What I also find particularly interesting is that on locating the animal, once it's been killed, they would actually put their hands on it and thank the Kogan, which was one of the Bushman gods, for the ability that they could have this meal, and they would apologize to the animal for having to kill it. One of the other uses for this plant is to take the scales that are surrounding the bulb, and that would be placed on wounds to treat the wounds. What I do find interesting is the very unique mechanism that it uses to disperse its seeds. As you can see, this round structure has a number of seed pods to the end, and when this dries and falls off, the wind will actually blow this, hence the name tumbleweed, and the seeds will be distributed. The plant can be incredibly poisonous, so it is quite used often for a range of different medicinal uses. However, that if you overdose on this, it can be fatal. So quite often when we do look at plants, and they are quite often collected by traditional healers, they will have some form of knowledge about which amounts should be appropriate in being used. I definitely would not recommend it for anybody to go and collect plants from the veld and use this for medicinal purposes. Quite often people do so, and they do get the incorrect measures and doses in, and this can be potentially fatal and lead to problems in the kidneys. We also find what's quite interesting is that a number of animal species such as Cape porcupine as well as the South African ground squirrels have the ability to feed on toxic bulbs without suffering any ill effects. However, for humans, not such a great thing to do. Sinek, to answer you on that, no, it's not a woody plant at all. So it's actually got a very soft structure that will break off. So generally when we look at woody plants, we refer to them as dicotyledons. While when we look at plants such as these that are not woody or herbaceous, as we sometimes refer to them, they tend to quite often be monocotyledons. And we can see at the base of the plant that it's got a very long leaf structure with linear leaf veining, unlike the dicotyledons, which has a network of veins on the leaf itself.
So we actually had a visual of a female kudu over here, and she was actually lying down in one of these mounds. She only stood up when she saw us. But usually female kudu, they stay in herds. But how she disappeared on the other side of the mound, maybe she'll pop out on the right hand side of the mound, and they were not sure. Hopefully she'll do that. But the kudu, they remain in groups, especially females, which they sometimes find a number of them, about 7, maybe 12 of them together, where males all separate from them. Sometimes you find the males also a group. They're one of the animals that they're not territorial. and they form a group of all bunch of males, but also same to a nyala as well. And these are the animals that are not territorial. But dominant males are always very important to be in a group, so it's always controlled. If it's a chance of maybe one dominant has a privilege to actually gain access to the female. I think we have another visual there. It looks like it was more than one. Since I say that, sometimes they're in a group. This one is actually another one. It's not the one that was moving away from us. And they're actually well built up with such a massive ears, provide brilliant hearing on them.
So we found the kill site. It's actually on Little Gowrie, not on Chitwater Djuma. Up Amarula here, we've got an impala lamb, I think, and it's stashed very... It's a little bit sad how it's stashed. Rexon's behind us, and you can hear squirrels alarming. So I think, although it's not the most riveting thing to look at a tree or a kill, I think we might just sit tight here. We haven't seen a leopard in a very long time, and hope that whoever made this kill is going to come back for it. One of the vehicles that is allowed to drive on Little Gowrie went and had a look, and there's no leopard around the vicinity, but the carcass is full. There's lots of meat on it. So somebody's got to come back for that. There's a leopard in the area for sure. So I think we may just stay here for a little while. Sometimes it's worth the wait, especially when you haven't seen a leopard in a very long time. I don't know how Andrew got on with his mission, but there's definitely a kill right next to our camp as well. That always happens when there's thunderstorms. They kill next to our camp for some reason. Last year after a big storm, we had Tungana killing on the Djuma sign. You have to be very cautious. We sat on that for about 4 days. Sorry, that's incorrect. Tlalamba killed it. Tungana stole it. But it happened. Oh, everybody's coming. This road's going to be very, very busy. But I think it's just worth it. So excuse the noise. The vehicle has parked right next to us for now. It might be a little bit noisy.
Right on the way, there are three bow branches. There are 2 branches going up. And then another one is
yes, everyone's very sad for the impala. Just the way it's positioned, it looks a little bit sad. Okay, so I'm going to do my very best to just explore this area with the other vehicles, and hopefully we will see some spots soon.
Yeah, maybe it's a leopard.
Like Lauren there. So we're still on search as well. But I heard an elephant's trumpet around here. So I'm going to take another short grass road. Hopefully we'll find them. It didn't sound far unless if they are in a very density or river where we can't access in there. But you know, for sound, sometimes it travels so far because of the ground is wet. And for such elephants, when they make sound, you know, that especially there's kind of a trumpet sound, sounded like maybe something harassing them there. They're not happy with something. So the sound can pop out so much far. But yeah, I don't think that was far enough. So I just need to stick on one of the roads here, check one road or 2. If they make such noises like that, it happens sometimes. There is younger males that they already move away from the herd. But every time the exits back, which they're not allowed to, their mother turn around and warn them, but very hard when they do that. But yeah, they are one of the intelligent animals. It actually takes so much time for them to forget why they're not allowed to follow their mother anymore. As a teen, oh, we got them right in front of us. I just need to get close enough to this elephant. And I'm sure these are the ones that are making so much of noise here. So what I will do, I'll actually park these far distances and just to see what's bothering them there. So maybe they have a trouble on their own without anybody harassing them. A trouble on their own, it's these young male I'm talking about. As you can hear, the trumpet sound is still coming out there. It's quite actually very cool that they're not actually, you know, they were supposed to flap their ears more than that. And maybe it's one of those ones that they're making so much of a sound. But behavior like this sometimes, if it's a female, they run around quite a lot in and out of the area because of when they exercise on their own and they run out of the herd, move back in the herd. So everyone, let's take this time, just listen to these animals as they walk towards us. Just experience the sound of the bush as they march through towards us. Indeed, they are very much silently. They're so very silent animals. You know, their feet, it's actually very powerful, hard sponge. But also including the ground is very wet, grasses. They're walking over grasses. So it's not such a footstep that you're able to hear, but you will hear grasses when they move through. And they're all just coming in slowly. So I'm going to stay put here, see if these elephants come in slightly closer. And let's go to Tswalu.
Welcome back to Tswalu. At the moment, we are actually having a look at a monotonous lark. And as you can listen to the call, It's a very long, drawn-out, monotonous call, hence the name monotonous lark. So quite often we don't see these larks for many months. And then suddenly when there's a large amount of rain that falls into the area, then they will come into that area and come and breed. So this little guy that's over here, this is a male, and he's busy displaying in the hope of attracting a female. So very distinct display that they have, quite often puffing out that white throat, and sometimes pendulating forward almost at a 45-degree angle and then bringing the head up and continuing doing that little call that they're producing. So generally most birders will refer to birds that are brown and uniform in coloration as little brown jobs or LBJs. However, we normally tease those. That's people that do call them LBJs as those that don't want to actually undergo the challenge of identifying them. So quite often, one of the most accurate ways of identifying little brown jobs is by actually learning their calls and then start working on the plumage pattern. Quite often on full moon nights, you will hear this call continuing right through the night and into the morning.
Thanks, JP. So we still have a beautiful herd of elephants, but now they actually move slightly closer. And I think they kind of like avoiding us, but walking past by on a far distance. So they are enjoying really very wet grasses. And every time they're trying to pull this grass, sometimes the whole grass come the whole bunch with the whole roots and things like that because the ground is very wet. But they were able to use their skill or separate those soils and things that is not necessary to their mouth. Chop off, use these premolars they have. And they move so silently that I wouldn't, if we didn't pick up any sound that we heard from the distance, I wouldn't actually knowing that it's a herd of elephants around here. Because we've been trekking these tracks since we began the drive. It's better when they all separate apart, they all spread around. So they gain free access. They feed comfortably, not being disturbed. Here it's one of those young males that these haven't really been moved out of this herd. But if they reach anything from 14 years, probably anything from 8 years old right now, all the two of them here, all like twin teenager males. So you found it's a massive herd, because there we saw a lot of tracks, but during the course of the day when they forage and they got to spread out each group and move separately. But what happened in this group, you have a matriarch, but also you have a senior female that she assisting matriarch all the time. If that happened, separate. Each group moved different way. Two groups, one would lead by matriarch and the other one assistance, female. but she also have experience. And during the course of movement, they do a lot of also communications, able to hook up again. This one looks like since the whole other one, they're moving either way. But this one, they might actually head straight towards our vehicle, I believe so. So they give birth throughout the year, elephants. There is no strictly seasonal breed on them. And these bigger males were always when you want to know the capacity of the herd, it consists of sometimes anything from 7 to 50, possibly 60. I think 100 has been recorded in a herd, and that's the capacity of the herd. And not always you find such a big herd like that, because they need a lot of space of themselves from one another also. So whenever they join up in that group, maybe a week later they may separate it. Maybe 20 move different way also, or 30 move different way, another 20 move different way. So I'm going to try. I'm not going to turn around yet. The grass is very wet, so all the ground is wet. So I'm going to try reverse back where I just came from. I don't want to stuck. Now Lawrence is far outside on the other side there, but I don't want to disturb her, come this far. She's also on a look for leopard. Hopefully she's got a luck out there. It's probably because of us reversing. These young ones that aren't really maybe enjoying our company. So let me try to find my turn here. So I'll be sending you over to Pride Lane to do their intro.
Well, the buffaloes that were standing out in the open got a bit of a spook. And they seem to have moved behind the bushes now, but I'm sure they'll come out again. Seem very curious. It's only a small group of them. Hi, everyone. I'm Mike Anderson. Behind the camera is Seb. And you've joined us at Eco Training Pridelands Conservancy, where we are enjoying a wonderful Christmas Eve afternoon drive. And the buffaloes, I think, are either heading towards Leopard Dam or away from it. But in any case, they're definitely heading away from us. I'll just move my big head out the way there. And you can see the buffaloes are disappearing down into the drainage line. This one looks like it's got a bit of dirt on its forehead. So I suspect they've been in this drainage line, maybe eating some of the grass, maybe rolling in some of the nice cool sand, digging it up with their hoofs. They're disappearing now, and I'm terrified to try and drive after them, because should we do that, there is a more than good chance that we'll lose signal. It seems to happen a lot these days with all these storms happening around us. We are in the African bush, and this is a live safari, so just anything can happen. We're actually heading over to the other side to see if we can get a spot on a Marshall Eagle, but in the meantime, we'll send you back over to Pinda.
Welcome back to and beyond Pinda Private Game Reserve. As you can see, we're sitting at a watering hole, watching some fish. Oh, you just see that spoon boy actually managed to catch a little fish there.
What's your binocs with the microphone?
So have a look. Having a bit of a field day there. I think what's happening is, if you can see in between us and that African spoonbill, that's that really white bird with the long red bill and the long feet. There's a whole lot of little flying insects flying around.
Sorry about that, everyone. Pinda's lost her voice, but they'll be right back, I am sure. Mystery number 3. Another kill. No owner, no murderer, no culprit. This day is becoming very strange. We're on Chitwa now, not far away. Oh my goodness, I got a fright there. Not far away from the other kill. But Marcel and I have just been discussing, there's definitely still a lot of meat in it. It's not as fresh as the other one looked. There's obviously, it's open from the rump. Might not actually be a leopard. Leopards do tend to hoist if they have the time. They do tend to, and I'm talking very generally here, open from the underside, from the tummy. This one's bitten from the rump. Could also be a cheetah. There's no hyenas in the area, which is also surprising me, and because the smell is very, very strong. And this is the 3rd kill. The other kill's right next to camp. Baby impala on Little Gowrie, and this female impala here. It's a very strange day. There's definitely predators in the area, so I think what we need to do is just slowly keep working the area. Working the area might not be overly exciting at first, but I think it's really, really important that we do that. I feel like Sabui and her 2 cubs could be around here, and possibly this could have been a cheetah. You get cheetahs quite often on Chitwa. And possibly the leopard scared it off. I don't know. I'm completely speculating. But instead of looking at another dead carcass of the day, we're going to bumble a little bit further down to the dam. Breathe some fresh air. The carcass. And then we're going to come back. Keep checking and keep checking. Murder mystery, yes. My favorite board game of all time was always Professor Cluedo. It's just the best. I feel like I'm in a real life game of Cluedo. What on earth is going on? We're probably not going to find the murder weapon, but murderer. Very close proximity to one another. Okay, we're going to just check out the dam for a little while and see what we can find down there.
Thanks, Lauren. So we managed to reposition here. We come back to the normal road. But, as you can see how we managed to, we try and actually zoom through these bushes to be able to get access to this animal. It's very difficult actually to be able to tell what they're up to. They showed quite a lot that when we were there, that they're going to move this way. But again, they changed. I think this is due to their food, their need. Maybe the grasses or the plants in this area, it's so sweet enough that they weren't going to leave just now. Or matriarch hold them up. And if that happens, it's because maybe the communication they were doing got a response. Maybe the whole other member, the right far end, where they might sometimes make their way this way later on. Could be the two reasons then. And when they're not making any of a sound, you won't believe how quiet they are. Sometimes you only hear them when they break off these trees. But when it's static or feeding on grasses, you hardly hear anything. So they would now, wherever it's a puddle of water, they would really like that. Tim, you want to know then an elephant lifespan? So elephants live up to 40, 60, possibly 70 if they're lucky. And that's their general lifespan. So they were places where they're not disturbed, when they've been kept in a zoo, and they can make it more than that. We're out in this wild. Disturb and take places where the sickness happened, die due to natural causes. But those die of older age. And this is when they reach anything from maybe 55, when they're 60 years old, when they're about 70 years old. They find themselves able to move around, not possible. And of course, feeding also can be very difficult for them, because they rely on these premolars they have. But once these get tired, and then that animals won't eat, and then it's a result of death. That then is the natural causes that take place. I haven't actually come across of these huge males that we often see somewhere around here, where they carry some massive task as they have. And remember, male and female also, they have task. So I'm gonna stay put. Sorry, yes. I'm gonna be still here with this elephant. So I'm gonna slightly reverse back, because there's another female. I think she get closer to us. Hopefully she stick around for us, but I don't want to scare them. They worry too much, more especially when they have their babies with them. All they think when they see any company, they think you want to steal their baby, but they don't trust. It's so cool they don't trust, because it shows that they're concerned. It's always say that. When you don't worry, it means you not care. So they care about their own life. So now they actually get around in this little mound. What this mound is well known for. A very nice grasses, healthy for most animals. So I'm going to stay put here with these elephants, and I'm going to be sending you over Pinder.
Welcome back. So we have so far been unsuccessful finding our cheetah. We went briefly through that open area and decided to let some other rangers give it a chance, and we decided to head down to a beautiful watering hole where we came across quite an interesting scene. Now, as you can see, there are some beautiful birds that are landing in that dead tree, a whole bunch of them. If you listen carefully, you can hear them calling. And those are European bee eaters, the intra-African migrants that have just come back. Those are those that breed here during the summer months, that is. And they are the most beautiful birds. I don't know if you can actually see their coloration from this angle. It's got quite a harsh light. They are absolutely stunning. I actually want to show you a picture in my book, which of course has just changed its page. Hold on. So here we have them, a European bee eater. As you can see, they are really stunning in terms of their coloration. They've got that very yellow face, beautiful blue body, and then that bronzy back, the little tinge of green. And of course, when they fly, you can see that characteristic long bill and sometimes a little trailing edge to their tail. So they often fly in flocks, and the reason they're here at the moment is because we have had so much rain. So we've had this eruption of termite alates, which is providing a huge amount of food for the birds around the area. So what's quite interesting is even if we look just in front of us on this road here, just at the, maybe at the curve of the road. You can see that blacksmith lapwing there. There's a few birds that are busy running around on the road. It's a water thickening that just flew onto the road as well. And what they're doing is they're trying to collect these termite elates. You can see all these elates flying around. And they're busy feeding on them at the moment. So we have amazing bird activity around this watering hole. Not only from our water birds, which we'd expect, but also from all these birds that are trying to catch these little elates. And then if we go off to our right, we can go and have a look at some of our water birds. And as you can see, sitting right next to each other, side by side in that watering hole, you've got the African spoonbill on the left, which just caught a fish. There we go, you see it? Having great success there. And then off to its right is an Egyptian goose. You hear the hippo snorting on the right from us. So now if we have a look at that spoonbill, you can actually see it's being really successful in terms of feeding. JC, that's a really good question. And sorry, you see the Egyptian goose going for the African spoonbill there. Now the reason for that spoon at the edge, if you think of trying to catch fish in water like this with chopsticks or with 2 salad forks, you know, which would be easier? Obviously the salad forks would be easier because they would grasp just a wider surface area and that little cup shape would get a really good hold on it. So it's just for ease of actually catching and trapping that fish or the frog or whatever it's going for. Much easier to catch up with a spoon or a spoon-shaped bill than like a very pointy, sharp bill. So that's the reason for the shape and the adaptation. And as we can see right now, it's clearly very successful. And I think these elates are helping the spoonbill quite a bit in terms of its fishing, because now all these elates are actually flying into the water and they are attracting a lot of fish and frogs that are wanting to eat them. And then the spoonbill is now in turn going to those areas and eating the fish. So it's doing really, really well. I mean, the whole time we're watching it, it's just guzzling things down. Might also be going for these little termite elates on the surface. They do also eat a few insects. So if we're going to go off to the right, we're going to see the other 2 spoonbills that are just sitting on the bank there. You can see that their heads are tucked really nicely into their bodies. They're just having a bit of a rest at the moment. See, there's a bit of a breeze ruffling through their feathers. And we've got a blacksmith lapwing right in front of them. That's that black and grey and white bird. It's busy walking away right now. If we follow to the left of that blacksmith lapwing, we're going to see a cormorant, which is just on the water's edge. That's that very duck-like looking bird. It's got quite a white front, black body, and that is a white-breasted cormorant. Beautiful bird to be seeing right now. If we go along the edge of that watering hole, just to the right of the cormorant, it's actually walking towards it right now. You're going to see a tiny little bird. It's busy just sticking its bill in the water, getting a little bit of a drink. That one's very white in color. It's got a black collar around its neck. It's got a white ring on the top of its head, and that is a 3-banded plover. Now we can see the size difference really nicely between the plover and the lapwings. You can see the plover is much, much smaller compared to those lapwings. And that's hence the reason of the name change. You know, we decided the lapwings are much bigger, and they'll stick with that name. The plovers being quite a bit smaller, so the categories have changed. Now if we go off to the right, we can actually see the yellow-billed stork busy feeding. Now it's got a different sort of adaptation, whereas the spoonbill has that really nicely shaped bill to catch fish. can see this yellow-billed stork is walking very slowly through the water. And you can see how carefully it's placing its feet. And so the placement of the feet are very sensitive. They detect movement. And so it keeps its bill wide open like that. And as soon as it detects movement with the feet, it's going to put its bill in the right place and snap it shut. Hopefully snap it on a fish or a frog. We can see it's got a little of a pinkish hue on the back feathers, which means that this particular yellow-billed stork is going into its breeding plumage, or actually just coming out of its breeding plumage. Now it's pruning itself a little bit, giving itself a bit of a clean. And it's resuming fishing again. And if we pan right from that yellow-billed stork, just to the edge of this sort of peninsula, you're going to see a black and white bird with very long red legs. It's actually standing on one leg at the moment by the looks of it, giving its one leg a little bit of a rest. And that is a black-winged stilt. It's busy scanning for food at the moment. You can see it looking around really carefully. Jerome's asking if all birds open their wings where they fish, and the answer is no. You know, there's things like the yellow-billed storks, which are known for it, and it is to take the glare off the water so they can see the fish better. But most birds will actually keep them tucked in. For instance, this black-winged stilt, I've never seen them fish with their wings open. And there's a number of others that also don't fish with their wings open. So it's mainly, you know, I think the larger birds, the ones that have got quite a bit of a height advantage, and then they can see quite far down with their wings open. And that's why they use them. You know, they've got larger wings, can actually block off the sun. I'm going to go back to these spoonbills now. The ones in the far back. You can see it's still fishing really successfully. I think it just caught another one. Mr. Wild, yes, there are definitely crocodiles in this dam. In fact, we saw, as we arrived, we actually saw one running out of the thickets into the water, which makes me think that there's one busy nesting on the outskirts. You know, crocodiles have the same nesting behavior as impala and wildebeest and warthog in southern Africa. The Nile crocodile will also try and lay their eggs in the wet season between November and as late as February. And so I do think that one is busy nesting at the moment, because they go outside the water and they find like a little sandbank and they bury their eggs in there and go and incubate them in every so often. So I think that's what she's busy doing at the moment. And we also do have some younger crocodiles that are around this area. We were very lucky to see a fish eagle the other day carrying one of these baby crocodiles off as it was fishing. So you're on the baby crocodile. Okay. I'm just going to show you that little hippo. It's got its eyes above the water. You can see its eyes are closed. It's really being quite sleepy at the moment. And there's another one with its nose popping out to get a bit of a fresh air. So I think we're going to leave this watering hole, as beautiful as it's been. And we're going to see what else we can find for you this afternoon.
You are cheeky. That was a brave decision. Amber Eyes is... Oh. That is so magic. That was absolutely wonderful. Amber Eyes just gave that cub an enormous hug.
Expect the unexpected here on Wild Earth daily. An ever-increasing part of the global population is losing its connection with nature. Wild Earth is here to reduce people's stress and anxiety, allowing you to escape into nature even just for a few hours a day. However, Wild Earth is expensive to run, and we need help from you to keep this ship going. Wild Earth Explorers gives you the opportunity to be part of a program that supports the sharing of nature with the world.
This is Rusty. He's my favorite vehicle, and we've been through all the good times here in the bush. Now, if you feel a connection to Djuma Game Reserve like I do, then we have a fantastic opportunity for you. You can have your name engraved on a brushed metal plaque just like this one, and we will attach it to Rusty so you can always be with us on safari in spirit. We will even send you a digital photograph once your plaque is mounted on Rusty. Spaces are limited, so grab your spot now.
Why is the Mara special? It's one of the only few places that you can find the annual wildebeest migration. I will still go for the lion. The main reason is a sign of royalty, leadership in my tribe, and apart from that, over here, it is feared by all but loved by everyone.
Catch up with the guides daily here on Wild Earth.
Welcome back to Tswalu. So we're back at Brevard Dam again, and we suspected that we could eventually get the tracks of lion in this area. After that, another guide informed us there was tracks from the north into a southerly direction. And as we got here, we managed to find quite a large number of tracks where they were drinking. So we were here yesterday, and as we followed the tracks away from the water, we actually determined where they were actually lying up. So these again are a group of lions from a few days ago. There we can see again the 3 lobes at the back of a foot, 1, 2, 3, 4 toes, and the lack of nails. So as we follow these tracks, they were heading a little bit further up. And here we can see where they were actually lying down. So there's actually 4 very clear impressions where these lions have been lying down as that you look around. And once again, there's our little track over here. What we also saw is that there was quite a large amount of feces with a lot of blood inside it that's been deposited right over here, which is a very good indication that these guys have actually had a meal last night. So, being an incredibly hot day, knowing that they had to come and drink water to assist with digesting the protein that they are consuming, we also reckon that they're not very far away. So what we'll be doing is that we'll be just working this area for a little bit longer. So knowing that these lions from the South Pride group has cubs with them, we're going to actually not get out on foot because we can potentially get charged by them, because mothers will try and protect the young at all cost. So the wise thing to do is actually to work for blocks and see if there's any tracks of these lions moving in or out the block. And once we've determined that there's no tracks going out of a block, we will go into the block to follow up. So the reason why we don't directly drive into a block is just purely out of a conservation ethic to prevent unnecessary trampling with a vehicle as that we go over vegetation and potentially can harming small little animals and insects. Good afternoon and welcome, Ansu. Yes, we can actually tell the age of a lion by looking at a track. So we can roughly guess it's either a cub, a sub-adult, an adult, and then we can also separate between
Apologies about that. You're back with us, and luckily we have some very cute bottoms. We have a mama warthog and 3 babies. Very alert. I just think warthog youngsters are the cutest of them all. They're so sweet. They're actually walking straight in the direction of the female impala kill. We've done a little loop around Chitwa, not that I expected to bump into someone, but there's definitely predators, and I use the plural here, in the area. So we're just going to continue to loop and loop and loop, see what else we can find along the way, see if we can get any closer to these warthogs, but I'm not entirely banking on it. I spent a lot of time with the common warthog in Ethiopia. You get the common in the desert. And they're very relaxed. You can walk right up to them. They have no very, very relaxed to humans on foot. But the warthogs out here are not, and it's completely understandable why. There is a threat around every corner. Now, it's not humans, but still, every corner there's a threat. They're going off into the grass, but let's see if we can get a view from here. Can you work with this, Marcel? Yep. The grass is almost too long for those little ones. The fact that they are short, now they're not exactly small, they've got a lot of meat on them. They're very muscular animals. But the fact that they're short, they can actually hide in the vegetation, at least in summer. And summer's providing us with a lot of challenges when it comes to finding the animals right now. Abby, I got asked this question the other day, and I didn't actually know myself, but on average, a warthog will have 2 to 3 little piglets. And that's normally what we see around here. There was 3, but we saw the other day one mother with 4 little piglets. But of course, the survival rate is not terribly high here, and that's just due to the sheer density of predators that we have. This area that we're in, at least in, I think the entire Sabi Sands, is very densely packed with warthog predators. Okay, I'm going to start my second loop to see if we can find the culprits of the murders, and we're going to send you guys across to Pinda.
Welcome back. So we decided to actually stick around. Oh, watch this. There was some pied kingfishers coming to the area, but they didn't actually fly over where I thought they were going to fly over. And we decided to stay here for a little while. As you can see, we've got an African spoonbill that's busy fishing with quite a bit of intent. Look at it flying its bill straight through that water. Going very purposefully from side to side. Phew. That is unbelievable. Going really quickly from side to side. You almost feel like it's going to crick a neck muscle just now. If you compare it to that yellow-billed stork that's busy fishing a little bit slower to the left, you can see 2 quite different, drastically different strategies. The yellow-billed stork seems to be going for making sure if there is a fish or a frog in that area, he does not miss it. He makes sure that he covers the area slowly but carefully. And that spoonbill seem to be going for covering more ground. hoping to happen across a fish or a frog just by startling it, by getting there as quickly as possible. You can see there's the black-winged stilt now between them. You can hear that greenback Camaroptera in the distance, that very loud clicking sound. Tick, 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 tick. And there's the Egyptian geese flying over now. David, yes, it is a very intensive fishing style. I don't think all African spoonbills fish quite as intently. This one just seems to be quite determined to catch something. Perhaps it's been outdone by another spoonbill and is desperately trying to catch up. I think this might actually be one of the ones that were busy sitting on that bank a little bit earlier. Maybe it's decided it's finished pruning itself and finished resting, and it's a bit hungry, so it's trying to catch a fish quite quickly. It's a really beautiful, peaceful scene here. And it's wonderful to see that the watering hole has filled up a little bit. And all the signs of life that brings. We always get quite a bit of sign of life around this watering hole because there is so little water at Pinda at the moment. So you do see a lot of animals attracted to the watering holes, a lot of bird life. As you can see, we're getting less animals at the moment because of all that wonderful, glorious rain that we've had recently. There's a lot of puddles around so the animals can make do with other sources. There's a crocodile that's popped up just on the right there. Just go there, you can see it. Its eyes just above the water. Actually saw a fish pop up behind its head just now. Hannah, that is a really interesting question, and I can't tell you the exact number. I think it's very difficult to actually figure out how often crocodiles feed. They don't feed very often. They are incredibly good at regulating their energy consumption. So they don't produce their own heat. They're cold-blooded, so they walk out of the water and let the sun heat them. And then if they get too hot, they actually open their mouths to get the cool breeze in, to cool their body rate, so they use less energy there. They also can slow their heart rate to about 5 beats per minute, which is a very low energy consumption. And even when you see them moving, you see every move is slow and delicate, nothing's rushed. So they don't need a whole lot of energy to get them through the year. In fact, the crocs in the Masai Mara feed about once a year. That being said, crocodiles do feed on birds when they get an opportunity, and I have certainly seen it where we've been sitting bird watching some white-breasted cormorants swimming across the water, and next thing one's just pulled down by a crocodile. Now, they do have a really interesting relationship with birds in that they will feed on birds when birds are swimming inside the water, but when crocodiles are lying outside of the water, they won't actually try and eat the birds. And the reason behind that is, I'm sure you've seen those pictures with crocodiles lying with their mouths wide open and birds actually standing inside the mouth and the crocodiles doing nothing. And the reason for that is that birds pick out the little bits of meat or debris that are left behind crocodiles' teeth, which obviously help clean their teeth and keep away infection. And in return, the crocodile will not eat that bird. So it's a sort of a mutual understanding when they're outside of water that they don't feed on birds. But when they're both back in water, all bets are off. So it's a long-winded way of saying they will feed on birds, I think, whenever the opportunity arises. But it is very seldom. Birds obviously around watering holes, very in tune with what's going on. They're very aware of the fact that crocodiles are there. And so quite unlikely to actually be caught. There's nothing like the sounds of the bird life around a watering hole. So we are going to see what else we can find this afternoon, but we're going to send you over to Pridelands and see what they have in store for you there.
Right, so we were heading towards the other side of the dam to try and see a martial eagle when we bumped into a very grumpy elephant. He was the Grinch of elephants. And instead we found this really awesome thing. So this that you can see just over here, and I'm not sure how close Seb can get to it, but you can see it's very intricate. This little pod is actually called an Uthika, and it's a praying mantis egg case. Now this one is empty because if I turn it over here, you can see that it is broken open. Now looking at the way it is broken open, I would suspect that these little praying mantis eggs that were inside, they hatched and they came out and they've now moved into the grass and they're moving around here hunting for little aphids and things. But what's super interesting is that look how intricate that is. So once the praying mantis female has laid her eggs, she uses another special type of gland to release the substance, which has got a very similar texture to polystyrene. It's very light, but it's quite hard, and it protects the eggs from any unwanted predators. Now, it's not an easy thing to spot unless you know what you're looking for, so you just got to look for these things, but they come in all sorts of different shapes. This is a very specific one, and I can't remember exactly which mantis makes this exact one, but you'll see them in all sorts of different shapes, and they all have the same function, pretty similar to the foam nest frogs nests that you see close to the water holes. And what other thing I wanted to show you was this little tiny sedge that I have in my hand. Now this little thing here is really beautiful, and I often think that people forget how interesting grasses and sedges can be. Now people look at grasses and sedges and they think that, oh, you know what, it's so boring, it's just one little thing. But look how intricate the flower head on this sedge is. I don't know exactly what species of sedge is, although I should, because it was one of the things I learned as a student way back when. But one thing that's interesting, people often mistake this for a grass, and the way you can tell that it's not a grass is if you look at this stem here. We say grass is grass, but sedges have edges. So you can see this sedge here is very triangular in shape. It's not flat like a piece of grass. And what you're seeing here with this little flower head, those are the actual petals and the reproductive parts of this little plant. So beetles and insects will climb all over those and help to pollinate them, as well as wind as well will help to pollinate them. So that's really, really interesting and really beautiful. When you're walking out in the bush, you must always look out for the little stuff as well. It's not so easy from a car, but when you get off the vehicle, it's super cool what kind of small stuff you can see. Like this little guy, which is actually sitting right next to Seb's camera. I'm going to try and see if I can get it. It's probably going to jump. Oh, of course it's going to jump. There, it's sitting on the dashboard now. So that there is a little grasshopper of some sort. You can see this one is quite small and doesn't have wings yet, so it's what we call a nymph, or one of the instars. And as they get older, they shed their skin, or their outer layer, the exoskeleton, and then they'll eventually get wings and be able to fly, even if it's just for short distances. But look at this particular type of grasshopper. It's got incredibly long legs, so this is a very, very strong jumper. Now, as the name suggests, grasshoppers generally are good at jumping, but not all of them are as proficient as others. Just like not all frogs can jump super far. Some are more designed to waddle or to swim. Well, this one's interesting. Look what it's doing with its head and its body. I wonder if it's doing one of two things. It could either be trying to sway to mimic a piece of leaf or grass in the wind, of which there is almost none right now, so it's not an effective technique of hiding from a predator, or it could be trying to judge distance, which is unusual because it's got compound eyes, these very large, actually they've got simple eyes, but they're very large eyes, and I don't know whether it would really be able to easily tell distance by moving like that. But bright and green and very good at hiding in the grass. Look at this little other, oh, there it goes. There's another little insect that was walking on the dashboard there. That's the kind of thing that the praying mantis youngsters will be hunting for. Very tiny little aphid-like insect. Oh, and it's gone. Because a praying mantis nymph, when it's first born, is a tiny little thing. Not much larger than let's say, the top of a needle, very small. In fact, I was sitting at my place, my tent recently, and I was just reading a book, and all of a sudden all these little insects were raining down on me. And at first I thought it was little ants, and when I looked closely at them, it was actually tiny little praying mantises. It was very cute. There was probably about 50 of them that were climbing all over the chair where I was sitting. So they're really interesting. Another thing to look out for when you're out here is chameleon baby chameleons. Chameleons live in trees, but they lay eggs in the soil. So as you're driving along, especially at night, look out on grasses for little green, round-looking things. Stop there and have a look. Quite often at this time of year, you find baby chameleons. Well, in the meantime, we're just going to head off and see what else we can find.
We've managed to come across a herd of elephants. Not the best views, but they're moving. They're moving west into the Mawati. And this is a very, very large herd. They're all feeding quite happily. Probably over the moon that the storm is over and they're starting to dry off. But we see you. It's nice and cool. So it's not too hot for them. The temperatures are just perfect. And they're ripping up the grasses, they're crunching through the branches. Now when elephants sort of debark or ring bark the trees, they're trying to get to the cambium layer. And the cambium layer is a specific... I'm just going to walk really close to the car, bear with me. Just going to go behind us. Excuse me. She just wanted to go behind us. There's other ones coming here, Marcel. One's going to come in front of the car. So yeah, the cambium layer is basically a specific layer on the inner part of the tree, inside, underneath the dead bark, which is what we see, which is visible. And it's in charge of making new cells. Hello. Hello. You're just having a big smell of us. Oh, okay. We must smell good today. We're attracting all the attention. Can't even remember what I was saying now. Perfect positioning of the pole, isn't it? Just wonderful. Yes, the cambium layer so is in charge of making new cells. And the new cells either become part of the phloem or part of the xylem, and both. And the cambium layer is the live part that's in charge of making the trunk and the branches and the sort of tree itself. And the roots actually get bigger and bigger. That's how a tree grows. That's where all the nutrients are. That's where the sugars are. And that's where the moisture is. That's exactly why the elephants want it. They don't want the dead bark around the tree that we can see. No, not at all. They definitely don't want it. They want the yummy layer inside that's filled with all the nutrition, the living cells, and that's the cambium layer. I don't think there's going to be any grass left after this. Leanne, the babies are constantly watching their mother. Constantly. Marcel, that female almost just took down that tree over there. Huh. And they learn a lot by observation. So they will do as mum does. And as a youngster, you'll watch them really try and attempt things, but they're a little bit uncoordinated. It takes them a while to learn how to be really coordinated with all their muscles when they walk or when they run. Very small elephants will stumble, they'll trip, they'll get everything all wrong, and especially with their trunk. They can't use their trunk straight away. It's like children, human children, trying to learn how to write. It's not automatic. You're not born with that skill. You have to learn how to do it. It's exactly the same. And therefore, they have to learn how to use their trunk. And that's probably what they would use to break trees. So it takes normally up to 2 years to really know how to use your trunk. Now, a human body only contains about 639 muscles. Which is not a lot when you compare it to an elephant's trunk. An elephant's trunk contains over 40,000 muscles, which are divided into as many as 150,000 units. So you're only just starting to get an idea of how intricate that appendage really is. The youngster's not going to be able to use that straight away. It's going to take time to learn to coordinate that. So I would say after 2 years, it'll start to really learn to use that trunk to pull grass, use the prehensile tips, pull, push, suck, use it as a drinking straw before it will break branches. So it'll take some time. The trunk is almost like a nose and a tongue fused together, if you like. It has many different functions. Oh, Jerome, they're one of the most social creatures, absolutely. But then so are lions, so are wild dogs. Wild dogs borderline altruism. The way they behave for their pack, it's all about the pack. They do everything for the pack, and we had the most incredible sighting of wild dogs at Chitwa, actually, where we watched the adult go hunt, kill an impala, then dab its nose, get covered in blood, then leave the impala, quickly run, get the puppies, let the puppies smell the blood. All the puppies knew there was a dinner somewhere. They followed the adult, and all the adults just circled the puppies and let them eat first. It's incredibly social in a wild dog pack. Even a hyena clan, it's very social in a different way. Why does everyone want to come to our car today? Have a good smell. It's all just a youngster. It's very curious. Dolphins are social. Many species of reef fish are very social, especially when they swim in shoals or schools. They both have different definitions. Some insects can be social. Look at termites. They're one of the most social species on the planet. Ants, bees. So elephants are definitely social, Jerome, for sure, but I think it would be silly to think that they're one of the only social animals. Marcella, I think it's you. I think they're all smelling you. I'm only teasing. Marcel smells absolutely fine. Some birds can be social. Look at the sociable weavers down at Tswalu. lavender. You're saying it's wonderful. Wonderful to be surrounded by lilies. Yes. You can feel the energy of elephants if you really tune in, and this is a very happy, relaxed herd. They're all just crossing in front of us, having a sniff, having a look. But this morning, definitely the herd that we encountered, or Marcel and I encountered, they were not relaxing. You can immediately tell with the elephants just from their body language, their behaviour, the energy. They're very reactive. And that's probably because they are social animals. And they don't like to be without the safety of their herd. They'll react to smells, they'll react to sounds, they'll react to things they see, things they feel. I think they're actually heading down into the Mawati now. We maybe can go the long way around and get a better view of them. I don't think going into the Mawati today is a very good idea. Okay, I'm going to do one more U-turn to have a look for this predator, and then we'll try and get a better view of these elephants for you. But for now, you guys are going to head down to Tswalu.
They didn't say anything. Yeah, they're asking for a link. Cool. Welcome back to Tswalu. Currently looking at a small group of kudu. A group which we are viewing is consisting of females as well as a number of young males. So we've just managed to locate them after almost tracking. After almost tracking them for a half an hour after the lions, we lost them. So in the meanwhile, we decided to make a quick stop up here, view these animals, and then from there on move on again to see if we can find them. So kudu is one of our largest species of antelope. It's sometimes classified as the second largest in terms of weight. As we've already mentioned previously, that we get up to 316 kilograms of males.
Sorry, JP, I just had an issue with your audio, so if you can just say that again.
Sorry.
Sorry about that. So we have left our herd of elephants searching for possible cats. I know this afternoon, I think since this rain has been, I think most cats have been on a hunt so much. Since it's been actually 3 killed that it's been discovered, and then there's no cats on all of those 3 kills. So, but it happens that, especially when they have a lot of chances to carry on a hunt, it happens sometimes they kill at a time, maybe 3 at a time, and then she may maybe spend a lot more time with one kill than the others. And that is actually why you see a lot of these kills have been abandoned. And these of cats been returned to those kills. And I'm not sure, but those one close to that camp may happen maybe if it's a Kalamba. She'll return back to that kill. So we're gonna check that later on there. So let me send you over to Tswalu.
Welcome back to Tswalu. Sorry, we just had a little bit of a technical glitch out there at the moment. It does happen if we're out in the bush. Communications aren't always possible. So we're back on the group of kudu that we were viewing earlier. And as we mentioned, that they're probably the second largest of the antelope species. But what always surprises me is their amazing jumping ability, and that they can jump from a standing still position over a height of 2.5 meters. I once saw a full-grown kudu bull jumping a 3-meter game fence when it was running at speed and then just simply leaped over. Kudus are predominantly leaf eaters, and we'll often see them browsing on trees. So one of the things that they found in the 80s during a drought period in South Africa was that a large amount of these kudus were actually starving from hunger. They couldn't understand because they were constantly eating and the stomachs were full. It was then discovered that plants can give off large amounts of tannin, and that the tannin often binds the cellulosis in the stomach, which prevents them from digesting the food, and basically they starve with a full stomach. Another interesting study that came from that was that they actually discovered that kudu often feed into the direction of a wind, not only to detect predators, but to slow down plants from warning other plants that they are being browsed. So what happens is that one plant that is being browsed on, especially in terms of acacias, will then immediately warn the next plant, and then from there the whole group of plants within that area will raise their tannin levels, making themselves unpalatable and forcing the animals to go and feed elsewhere. So generally when we do find kudu, they always infect bushes, as mentioned previously. Horns can be a potential hindrance when you're in a thick wooded area. Therefore the females don't have any horns. So what they do is they simply rely on freezing, that is meaning standing still, and using their cryptic colorations to blend in with their environment. You'll also notice that kudu has got incredibly large ears, which makes them very effective at detecting potential threats. So 50, you 100% right. They're also one of my favorite antelopes, and there's nothing as graceful as a big kudu bull, especially here from the months of May and going into August when these bulls are inbreeding. You'll actually notice that their necks become thicker, they strut around in a very proud manner, and quite often they become so focused on females that I've actually noticed that quite often that they walk into lionesses or lions and being at that time of the year. Sometimes it might be possible that they're just worn out from fighting as well. One of the other things that I've also found over the years, which is very interesting, is that these beautiful antelopes will often get stuck to one another when the bulls are fighting, where the horns will interlock, and quite often then ending up that they can't get loose from one another. The result, often starvation or breaking one another's necks and still being stuck to one another. We're just going to reposition and see if we can see them again. So we know that area where we've been following the lions, we were just fresh on their tracks by the time that we found the kudu. It's very unlikely that they're here because these kudu would most likely have smelled them or detected them by means of hearing. Glenn, to answer that question, I'm not sure there's been any studies being done on how good their hearing is, but if we compare it to our own, it's a different world. And they have exceptionally, in general, animals have exceptionally good ability of hearing and also incredibly good ability of smell to detect things within their environments. We're just going to check one or two more roads to see if we can find any of those line tracks crossing further to the south, and then from there on continue our drive.
So we are just going to sit here at Ndlovu Dam. We just had an elephant walk past straight into our camp. We thought we'd just enjoy the quiet for a moment. There are some impalas alarming in the distance. Let's see if we can figure out how far they are. And those impala are still alarm calling quite frequently. Sounds like it might be getting closer, if anything. Perhaps whatever it is on its way to the water to have a drink. Maybe Pixie Pan and her two youngsters. Fingers up, let's hope.
Thanks, Mike. So we actually find now the southern giraffe. As you can see right there, it looks like a female giraffe feeding on this. It looks like it's one of these toxic trees out here. But not that what she's feeding at that now, but the other one which is slightly to her left. That's one of a tamboti tree. And right now she's feeding on a buffalo thorn tree. So giraffe, they are so much picky. Sometimes you find them in an area where it's suitable for them to be in terms of browsing. It's great for them. And you always look for them. You don't find them. It's that sometimes they move into places where they always benefit for their own browse. So they are the browser animal. And of course they are tallest animals for sure. For them to reach that height, no other animal can except for the elephant. But some of these bull elephant, the giraffe, some of the places where they can reach, not that female elephant can, so they still can't, so they are tall, way too tall. It seems to separate now. There were two female when we get here. One moved to across the road, and then we still have a visual of this one. But for them to be able to manage to keep up in a one number or same group, this is how they use visual communication, where the visual sight, and they have to sight from one another, even though they're far distance, as long as there's a visual of their ears, which is a lot pale compared to the rest of their body. So it's for them to be able to see one another even far from each other. And they would spend a lot of time, especially it just rained, a lot of trees, it tastes so good for them because, it's all washed off, not a lot of dust, even though they don't eat grass very much. So they depend very much on browsing. Wherever it's a lot of acacia trees there, then you would more likely to find giraffe. And we're looking at the southern giraffe. Where their lifespan is anything from 28-30 years, roughly. And their gestation period, it's 14 and a half months, 15 months, give birth to one single baby at a time. Can tell you they're well brave enough, such animal like this. They sometimes, usually they give birth standing up. Alan, giraffe, if you corner them, of course they can be very much dangerous, so they kick very bad. But in a land like this, if you could walk towards them there, they were just going to politely run away or move away from us. But if you want to try, maybe grab their baby because the baby injured sometimes like that, and then of course you'll get kicked, maybe to death. So it's only the dangerous they can be when they're cornered, when they have to defend themselves. They can be dangerous. We're talking about kicking, that's how they defend themselves. From lions, they can defend themselves as well. A manly lion can hunt giraffe, the pride of lion. And a lot of time, it's a lot of, damage from the lions. A lot of lions die, sometimes get up injured or limp, not able to move anymore properly, and leads to death if that happened. They use both legs to do that, defend themselves, kick back, forth, but sideways as well. Also when they run, but if there is ever a chance, they can still defend themselves by even step on top of whatever in front or trying to grab from the front of them, or hit them with their kind of like shoulder that way. Finally they get very strong kick as they run past that thing using his back leg. You still have a beautiful ossicons, this horn they have. But this, on top of these ossicons, it's actually fluffy hair on top. So for a male they would have a balded on top of the horn, which it just looks like a white patch on top of this horn, but they're a lot thicker compared to the female. So we're looking at the girl right now. Clayton, so the purpose for the horn, males they use them for fight pretty much, and then the female they don't mainly fight so much. That's why you still see a lot of hairy on top of this horn, because they don't fight much. But they're not actually able to defend themselves against their predators. A male use them, fight another male, and sometimes very amazing when you see these animals fight, especially males. And it doesn't seem so serious until it went very fatal sometimes, and they sink their head towards one another. It hurts so much, even though it doesn't look like to us when they do that. But head section, or neck, is very sensitive as well. That's where they're so much careful, even when they drink water. They bend over, but they have time limit. They suck water and they rise their head up again. Make sure the blood settles down, so they have big hearts, which then it weighs too much. So recorded anything from 11 to 12 kg heart giraffe would have, and that would be able to pump blood up to the neck, head sections, and to make the animals alive. And not so much big heart. Looks like the sister is coming here. It's gonna cross the road towards their partner. She just stopped right here on the middle of the road. It can be sometimes the pattern or color of animals like this. They can be very much different. Sometimes kind of like gold, but you know, there's little narrow patch still there, the white, but in the middle you see dark sometimes, or pale, a lot pale. So this is something to do with when they grow up, especially male, they change coat, or the gene pool can sometimes mean something a lot. From mother or father that was a lot pale or dark, that animal would have turned very, very dark during their lives. So for them to be able to feed comfortably, they have a very long tongue that would be able to, kind of like very prehensile tongue. When it come out of the mouth, would be able to hook anything they need. And the feed on these trees, we talk about this acacia nigracis, which is also a knop thorns. The leaves are small, so very small, and they're able to select what they need. Leave thorns behind these hard thorns, but tip end where the growth of these branches, it always shoots through, and it shows a lot of new shoots of growth. And this will be chopped into the mouth by these very teeth they have. And they would have molars instead of teeth or bottom teeth. They don't have those. So a fully grown giraffe, especially male, can, be tall as about 6 meters high. Pattern. Giraffe, so they breathe throughout the year. They're not actually strictly seasonal breather. So in the rainfall, they breed. Also in the winter, they also breed as well. And they are one of those animals, sometimes when you look at them, they're not related to a lot of animals. We don't have an animal that's called okapi. And some of those know exactly that. Yeah, the camela also, they would slightly related to this. I think it's because of how they walk close to camela a little bit. But other than that, nothing else relates them to them. And they walk differently, more away from the other animals. And that animal, okapi, which I never actually find or seen one yet. Not sure if I will able to see it, but they slightly dark, and they're not height as even this female. They're a lot higher than that okapi. So. But the shape, it's similar way. They have a height front, kind of like lower back, and then they still have very long tongue as well. And they still have little ossicons, this type of horn, but you find them in most, or not in the places like this. They're probably one of these forest area. They're browsers as well. So they ruminate, which usually giraffe, when they ruminate, either standing up, which makes them easy for them to able to regurgitate and then swallow it again. So I'm going to move on. I'm going to be sending you over to Tswalu with the squirrels. Or should we move on anyway and we'll talk while we move anyway? And I think we're going to lose the... When we go down there, there's no signal. Sorry, Tswalu. Yeah, we still have these two sisters of giraffe. What I think they find very much a good place for them to feed right now there, that they don't actually move too much. Since we started to watch that very first one that was in that area, and they're still feeding very comfortably. Giraffe can run up to about 50 kilometers an hour. Oh yeah, I was just checking careful there. So now they're feeding on tamboti trees. Those are toxic trees for human and other animal. But you find porcupine, which is one of the biggest rodent out here, would feed on the roots for that tree as well as this giraffe feeding on that. Sometimes grey duiker, which is an antelope. If you look at this animal together, you'll see they're not actually the same color. One is slightly pale yellow, other one kind of a dark a bit, the one that's crossing the road now. Look at that tongue come out of that. It's very long. You often find giraffe mixed up with the other antelope, but also including the zebra in the area, as well as a baboon. So they don't mind other company. And then type of other species like those zebras and the wildebeest and impalas, they gain a lot of benefit from giraffe, which they have an advantage of see far. And seeing that far as a chance, they get hunted. So wherever there's a giraffe, when they want to hunt prey like impalas, if they're the predators out there, they have to make sure they don't get spotted. And that's just the main key for them to be able to get close to the prey species. Whatever they get spotted, they freeze. So they always make sure when they have a giraffe, wherever they hunt, they know that giraffe may spot them before impala do. And then you find if it's a leopard, which won't hunt giraffe, only gonna giraffe will spoil their kill or their hunt. And then they will be more careful about that, checking out before they approach. She also gonna cross the road, follow her sister. She's coming towards us. So I'm gonna carry on, check the boundary again, leave this animal in peace.
Welcome back. You've just been sitting watching a crowned hornbill, but it's unfortunately just flown off as we went live. So we decided to actually take this road, checking very carefully if we find any signs of leopard in the area. We've got a beautiful drainage line that runs off to our right. We just thought we would drive slowly and see if we find any tracks or signs of it, or even hear that leopard rasp. We heard one earlier today, so we thought maybe we'd check this area. So what we're going to do is we're going to carry on checking this area for leopard, and we're going to send you to another live location.
Ah, yeah, he's going to stop there. Welcome back to Tswalu. We're still on our way further down south. We spent quite a lot of time looking at tracks, both on foot this afternoon. At one stage, it was really looking promising and finding the lions. And then they moved into an incredibly thick vegetated area where it's impossible for us to drive as well as safely walk in to try and find them. At the moment, it's just a beautiful landscape to enjoy. We're just going to put the camera for a short while on the Koranenberg, and then from there we'll continue a little bit further south.
Have you been watching Wild Earth and dreamt of being right there on safari with one of the guides? Well, now you can. Wild Earth is offering you a chance to buy a ticket to dream. You or a friend can hop on board a live Wild Earth show and join our guide on safari. The ticket is redeemable at any of our locations, anytime in the future. Only a limited number of tickets are available, so don't wait. Get your ticket now and start dreaming. Terms and conditions apply. Wild Earth is launching our brand new Explorer program with an opportunity to win a very special Wild Earth expedition. The lucky winner will get a behind-the-scenes Wild Earth experience at the magnificent and beyond Ngala Tainted Safari Camp. The prize includes a 3-night stay for you and a friend with a chance to sleep out in the unique Ngala treehouse. Become a Wild Earth Explorer and stand a chance to win this and many other prizes. Terms and conditions apply.
My name is Ross and I'm a field guide at and beyond Pinda Private Game Reserve. I love getting questions from guests on Wild Earth because I love sharing and learning information about nature with new people, and it also makes me feel like you're all joining me in real life. If you want to ask a question on Wild Earth, then you need to register on our website. Once registered, go to our live safari page and submit your question below our live feed.
Oh, it's going to be in trouble now. Oh, this is unbelievable stuff. Here comes a hippo in too. Go, Impala. There's a hippo coming in. I can't believe what we're seeing here. This is what we normally see in East Africa. It's all over. Hippo leaping at the crocodile now. Everything's gone underwater.
Expect the unexpected here on Wild Earth daily.
So, I'm not having a very good day for finding any animals that are alive. Now, I'm also not sure if Andrew showed you this at the start, but this is the kill right next to our camp, pretty much in the camp area. It's also an impala lamb. I don't understand. I don't know why there's 3 dead impalas and no predators. Sibui was found on Little Gowrie, but as you know, we can't traverse there. So I'm baffled. I wonder whether these kills were possibly made, that's you, Marcel, before the storm. And as I already mentioned, the storm was unbelievable. The sound, we didn't sleep much last night, and I wonder whether because the sort of sound of the lightning itself, the thunder was right above us, I wonder if that scared the animals off their kills. I don't know. I can't think of a possible explanation as to why this has happened. I checked the area, I didn't find anything. So we've came up to this one. And at least whether it could be Kalamba, she's the most likely suspect behind this one. And I just wonder whether we should really properly explore quarantine, see if she's hiding out somewhere. I've never had so many kills in one drive. So it's rather sad. We won't focus on it too long. We will bumble around and see. She could just be in the long grass here. But knowing Kalamba, if I'm correct in my guesses, she would be up the tree. I really don't know. There was no hyena anywhere to be seen around the impala that was on the ground. I'm bamboozled. I'm discombobulated. I have no explanation. But I don't believe it'll stay like this for long. I really think the hyenas have no chance of getting the ones that are hoisted, of course, but I think a leopard has to return. KB, you're saying leopards on a killing spree. It seems that way, doesn't it? And they're all abandoned, and they're all full. I mean, they're all from last night or this morning. Anyway, I think what this means, rather than look at that poor little lammy who has lost its life in the jaws of death, we shall. I mean, this is camp. There's a gate right ahead. This is where we live. So she could be anywhere. She really could be. I'm so desperate to see a leopard that I'm starting to feel really, really frustrated. I would also like to check on the hyena den, but I think it's worth just staying around this tree. Around this marula. You don't see anything, Marcel, do you? We're starting to lose light as well, which always makes things just a little bit tricky. I don't see anything, I'm afraid. Okay, let us continue. I really hope I do not find any more dead animals. Now maybe the storm separated the lambs from the mum last night and the predator used that as an opportunity, but then where is the predator? Kitty cats, where are you? Dizzy, you're also baffled. I'm glad to hear it. Are you also discombobulated? But you're baffled at the lack of scavengers. I know. Where's the hyenas? Especially with the opened ewe, the impala ewe that was on the ground in Chitwa. I don't know. Where are the scavengers? They're obviously up to no good somewhere else. There's just no sign of anyone, no tracks. I mean, the ground is very, very difficult right now. It's not sort of the type of ground that you can really easily track in. But where is everybody? I think I'm just going to do loops and loops and loops until I can piece together this mystery. But one thing, it does leave promise for tomorrow morning, at least. I didn't get where that comment was from, but you're totally right. These are just the kills we know about. There could be more. There could be more. I'm sure there's kills everywhere. Unless it's like just Kalamba stocking up her pantry. She's known for that. Last time I spent quite a long time with Kalamba. She had a kill in 3 different trees. 1, 2, 3. All in the Mulwati. I really don't know. And it's cool, it's not hot, it's not exactly as if the leopard should be avoiding the heat and they're resting in the shade. Mystery. Okay, Marcel, whoever finds the leopard first has to cook the other, gets dinner cooked for them by the other. How does that sound? Marcel loves vegan food, so he'll be over the moon if I cook him some vegan food. I mean, the kill, I am just thinking now, sorry, my brain's talking round. The kill being next to camp could also maybe be a deterrent for a leopard due to people being present. We can't help that. That could be another reason it's been abandoned. Okay, I am really going to focus now to find the culprit, and we're going to send you guys down to Tswalu.
Welcome back to Tswalu. We're currently at Mellifera Pan, named after the acacia mellifera. We're busy having a quick little birding session over here, seeing which birds are coming in and out. And at the same time, we're also enjoying the calls of the bubbling Cassina frog, which is calling in the background. If you look through the sedges, you'll notice a little Namakwa dove. Hopefully we'll be able to get a little better picture of him in a moment. But what you'll notice is that they've got incredibly long tails, and in the case of the males, black faces with an orange and yellow coloured bill. This is probably one of the most beautiful of the dove species in South Africa. Here we go. We're back on him. What I do find quite fascinating about Namakwa doves is that unlike many other bird species, they can actually give moisture off through the skin, and by means of air movement they can cool themselves. Most bird species will actually have to use their muscles of the throat so that they can paint, which also adds to extra energy being used. And this way, Namakwa doves actually make themselves 3 times more efficient in terms of keeping themselves at a more constant temperature. It also enables them to venture out into the heat, where other birds would retreat into the shade. We've also got some laughing doves coming in. They're fairly uniformly coloured doves, and they lack any ring around the neck. Good afternoon, David, and welcome to the show. You are 100% right. It is one of the most beautiful places to live. And I've been very fortunate for the last 20 years of my life that I've been able to live in game reserves around South Africa. It sometimes is also quite difficult for me to go back to cities, especially if you are used to having animals around you. There's a little wattle starling that has also came in. There's a number of them that's coming to have a drink and a bath. Back onto a little laughing dove. It's got a uniform coloration. It lacks a ring around the neck, unlike Cape turtle dove and the red-eyed dove, which we also sometimes have here. As mentioned in one of the earlier programs, doves have got quite a unique ability to suck up water, like as if they're drinking it through a straw. You'll also notice many of the doves landing in a tree, making sure that it's safe and then only coming down to the water and drink. So unlike other birds, they don't need to tilt their heads back, and they're not exposed to potential threats while they are drinking. Good afternoon, Control. They are not having an argument yet, but if there's females that are going to come in close proximity of them, they might potentially have an argument with one another in terms of fighting with one another. So what we also find quite often is when males will start calling, they deliberately space out as well. So aggressive frogs will, more aggressive and stronger males will therefore force other males away from the main calling area. We're going to enjoy the sounds of these bubbling casinas for a little bit longer, as well as have another look at the birds that are coming in and out. But in the meanwhile, we're going to send you over to Pinda.
So we decided to head to some open areas, just past that beautiful drainage line we were driving past, looking for some leopard. And we came across this herd of wildebeest. Now, if you have a look in front of us, we can actually see, I count 4 very young wildebeest. And look how sweet is that. 2 of them are actually interacting. And what's really nice, you can see the color difference even between those 2. The one in the front's a lot more gray, so it's quite a bit more young. Owen was telling me that him and Damon were busy filming here earlier, and they only actually saw 1 tiny wildebeest calf in this herd. It looks like quite a few more have actually joined the herd, so there's been quite a few birds today. You look at that one off to the right, the far one on the right. It's busy walking past its mom. You can see the umbilical cord right there. Yeah, FM? So you know that they are very young. Look at that one right in the middle. So it's just walking behind that one female now. You can see how incredibly long its umbilical cord is. I think that was the one that we think still has a bit of blood on it. You look, its head is still wet. Oh, it's got such a long umbilical cord. Have a look at that. Its legs are spread quite wide. Doesn't seem to actually be very stable on its feet yet. I've sat with them before, watching a female give birth. And the lovely thing is that with this time of the year, wildebeest are one of the few animals that actually give birth out in the open. You know, especially in terms of impala and warthog, both of them go into thickets. Well, the warthog give birth in their burrows. Oh my word, there's a female that's starting to give birth. Okay, look to the right of the group. There's one in the open. If you look below her tail, I'm pretty sure we can see hooves sticking out. You see that one, Owen? See, she's just moved her leg. There's a calf standing in front of her now. Just focus in on that tail. I think I saw hooves. Now, normally what you see is the amniotic fluid, a little sac coming out. You just see that little protrusion there. There we go, you can see that. There's the hooves starting to come out. This can be quite a bit of a process. You might start to see the sac protruding. You might see her lying down because she's starting to get uncomfortable. How amazing. There we go. Look at that. You can see her belly, how heavily pregnant she is. I find it absolutely unbelievable that in the process of giving birth, she is carrying on feeding. This is just absolutely amazing. You can see her teats there are all swollen, so she has definitely produced milk. So as soon as she finishes giving birth, that calf will be able to suckle. Amazing how just calm and collected they are. Firebird, they can give birth standing up and lying down. What I have seen most commonly is that they lie down, and as they sort of give birth, you see them almost stand up towards the end to let whatever it is come out. Sorry, not whatever it is, the calf come out. But they can give birth both ways. Now, like I said, this is actually quite unusual to what I'm used to seeing when they give birth. Normally I see like quite an amniotic sac protrude first. So I'm not sure what's actually happening here. I don't think there's anything wrong. I just think perhaps this is even earlier stages than I'm used to. Pete for Kim. Pete, there's a wildebeest that's in the early stages of giving birth here if you're interested. Unbelievable. You can see she's actually got a whole lot of mud from earlier caked on her head. Paul Villa, it will vary just as it does with humans. Oh, look, hold on. She started to lift up the tail a little bit there. Paul Villa, I'll get back to your question now. Matt, it's in Indabaan open areas between Ammonite and Indabaan Link, quite close to that junction. I'm going to let Pete control the sighting. I'm going off the radio. So just as it does with humans, it does vary quite a bit. I have sat for well over an hour before, and I've also been there for a full 10 minutes before we watched it. But it can go on for even longer, you know, quite a few hours, depending on the contractions and the position of the animal inside. So there's a lot of factors that are going to sort of come into play. She's looking at us. Just waiting for her tail to lift again to see if we can. There we go. You know what? I wonder actually. I might actually be wrong. I want to get a good look at it, because what it could be is actually the afterbirth from one of the calves. Because as I was thinking that it was the hooves, now I'm getting a better look. It doesn't actually look too much like hooves. It could be the afterbirth there, and that's why we're not seeing that amniotic sac. I think it might actually be one of the females that have already given birth. Avril, no, they give birth right in the open and they stay with the herds. It's actually quite sweet. When a wildebeest is about to give birth, she'll often lie down and the rest of the wildebeest herd will sometimes go and lie next to her and surround her. The few I've watched, it's been quite amazing. A lot of them stop feeding and actually go and lie almost in support of the female that's giving birth, which is quite something. just trying to get a good look. It's very difficult to see now what's happening. But I think it might just be the afterbirth actually. Yeah, I'm not seeing any amniotic fluid. Sorry viewers, I got way overexcited there. Yeah, I'm just gonna try and reposition in a little bit, get us a better view. We just want to see sort of what plays out here, because even if it is the afterbirth, which I'm thinking more and more as we're watching, that is actually what we're going to see, it might be quite interesting to see if that expels. Yeah, if you have a look, there is one little calf that does seem to stick right next to it. If you see, there's that one small one, but it does seem to be going to the other female. This is quite interesting. I'm trying to figure out exactly what's happening here. Oh, a whole lot of females grouped together, and the calves don't seem to be sort of sticking to one in particular. You look, watching that little calf, it is still struggling to walk actually. There's one that sort of almost fell down there. Very sweet to see. She's now alarm calling at us. Lee, in terms of the time it takes to walk, I've actually timed it. The quickest one I've ever seen was 8 minutes. And even, you know, when we say walking, it was actually running within 8 minutes. One of these little wildebeest calves. And the longest one I timed was 26 minutes. Now, that was quite an interesting one because there were heavy, heavy winds that day. So it started getting up from pretty much 8 minutes. And then, sorry, I'm just checking what because it now seems to be alarming off to the right. I'm just seeing if there's anything around there. There are some impala that seem relaxed though, so I don't think there is anything there. Yeah, but it was a very windy day that morning when it was 26 minutes, so it kept being blown over the second it was sort of standing up straight. Just checking, the impala all are looking off to the left as well. We did have some cheetah tracks in this area earlier, so we are just keeping a watchful eye out. It was the best part about being on game drive, is you really never know what you're going to come across. Now she's back to alarming at us. Comparing her stomach to the one to the left stomach actually does look even a little bit bigger. But it's very interesting because there doesn't seem to be a calf that's sticking around particularly closely to her, which, as you can see with all the other ones, you know, there's 4 calves and 3 females lying right next to the calf, so perhaps one calf that's unaccounted for. Quite an interesting conundrum that we have here. So it could also be that she's not quite giving birth yet, but her vulva's just a little bit inflamed just before they give birth. That also does happen. It's a sign with, buffalo or giraffe, what you look for. Latvia, to answer your question, they can give birth to twins, but it's not very likely. So generally, the longer gestation and the bigger the calves or the animal, the less likely it is for twins or a number of young to be born. But there is a chance of twins. It's just very unlikely. So if we have a look, that could be the answer for the 2 lying in the middle, with 3 calves surrounding them. There's a chance that they're twins, but I think it's very, very unlikely. More likely that there's just one mother off to the right. It's maybe not paying close enough attention to her calf. They do look very sweet. See, they're starting to rest in this open area. If you have a look, you can see that they're starting to ruminate. They've settled down for the evening, and what they've done is, early on they would have fed quite a bit on a lot of grass. And they've stored it in their rumen, and are just sort of regurgitating and chewing it down to a finer powder. Still watching that female on the right. Every time she lifts her tail, there seems to be something going on there. So I think we are going to probably stay here for a little while. I'm quite puzzled by this whole situation, so I want to try and figure out what's happening. So I'm going to stick here, and hopefully we can have a solid answer for you soon.
Welcome back to Tswalu. So we've just been sitting here for a short while looking at very tiny insects. Unfortunately, they don't show up so well on the screen. So they're mostly midges and tiny little flies that are flying around this bush. And I've just actually been thinking about how often we neglect to think about how important insects are within an ecosystem. They also serve as a food source. They also play a very important role in pollination, and also sometimes also in the role of spreading disease and creating balance within ecosystems. But in the meanwhile, we're just going to pan out back onto the Koranenberg and that beautiful sunset. We can enjoy that for a few seconds, and then we're going to move on, as we would like to try and get back to the west so that we can have a sunset over the dune system itself. From here, we're going to move on, and we're going to quickly also just check one last little spot where we've known that there's a little Cape Fox den. Hopefully, we'll be able to find them today as well.
Talking of mysteries and getting to the bottom of things, I decided to come to the hyena den, just in case there's any carcasses here. Sorry, Ali just flew into my face. June is here. Everybody's out, in fact. We've got Ribbon suckling, and being creatures of habit, Ribbon has actually spiced it up. She normally sits at the other side of the den, and if you look closer, you'll see that bulbous belly. Ribbon definitely feasted on something last night, because I saw her last night and she was not this full. So I think you're right in saying there's carcasses everywhere. Ribbon, can you please tell me what is going on? And the terrible too, look at them both. Heart's not here, but Heart's little cubs are out and Corky's daughter's out as well. Oh, and here we go, the games begin. No. Now, it would be really nice to see Corky at the den. I've not seen Corky in quite some time, but I do believe she was spotted on the dam cam. We're so lucky that we have that dam cam. But I haven't seen her. I haven't seen her. Excuse me. Nope. I haven't seen her around the den in a very long time. Not since I've been back during this stint. We got great views of June's little one last night. It was so precious. It came out. It got to meet her sister. Its sister, Sutu. Got to meet Ndebele, and lots of fascinating things became clear last night. And we did get a genitalia inspection. Looks relatively female, but honestly, at this stage, you really, really cannot tell. It would be silly to make a conclusion at this side, but of course you can speculate and you can guess. And the genitalia did look like a pseudo penis, blunt at the end, but I think we do need more close inspections to be able to confirm that. So it's exciting. Is June going to give us another girl? Hopefully, that's what the Juma clan needs. It needs more females. There's only 5 adult females in the clan right now, and that makes the clan relatively small. But one other thing I wanted to mention was I've always assumed, I think assume's the right word, that Corky was at the bottom. She did a 180-degree flip, if you like, from the top to the bottom. I'm actually now really thinking that June's actually at the bottom. Why am I thinking that? A few reasons. One was last night we got to see Corky's daughter acting quite dominant over June. Tail up, a little bit aggressive. I mean, she's tiny, she can't be too aggressive, but she was nipping at June. Now, she could just be doing this through learned behaviour, through watching the other cubs, but I don't think so. I think Corky probably exerts her dominance over June because she's just above her. She's still low-ranked, Corks, but she's above June, and I think she exerts her dominance over June, and Corky's daughter is following suit. I also am thinking back now to November 2019, when that matriarchal takeover happened in camp. That awful, awful night. And June was the one that came out the worst. Out of everybody, June and Corks. And I think I just wrongly assumed that Corks was always at the bottom, but I'm wondering if we're wrong, and I think we really need to pay attention to that. We need to see an interaction between June and Corky. That's going to really give the game away. They both seem to have acceptable relationships with Ribbon, though. I mean, Ribbon's here right now, June's here. Corky's around as well. I could be wrong, I'm just speculating, but I think it's something we really, really need to home in on to find out the hierarchy. Who are the bottom 2 and in which order? Did Corks just fall from grace and go straight to the bottom of the pile? Or did she retain something and at least stay second from the bottom? They don't tell you in any of the handbooks how much hyena cubs love cars. In the Masai Mara, it's worse. You've got the entire North Clan cubs under your car. Jerome, no, they would never bite us. We wouldn't allow that to happen. Yes, we don't have a door, but we would never ever allow ourselves to be in the position to be bitten by a cub. Trishala did have a little bit of an accident with her earpiece. It's a bit of a malfunction. But no, they're just intrigued by the car because it probably comes with a lot of smells. If you think of everything that I drive through, from dung to scat to puddles, all carcasses possibly, there'll be a lot of interesting smells in those tyres. And not only that, of course, tyres are rubber. It's quite easy to get your teeth into that and gnaw at it. It's really the tyres that they come for. And I think it's just for the smells. So I think we're going to try and organise a night bumble tonight. And sadly, you can't all join, but Marcel and I are determined to find out who is the culprit behind the kill that's next to our camp. So at least we can have some sort of update for you tomorrow. Aubrey's convinced it's Kalamba, but of course we don't know that. So if we do find a culprit, I will post it. I will post about it tonight. If not, it does leave great prospects for tomorrow morning. And the hyenas here are clearly full. I have said this before, but although hyenas are great scavengers, they're great at it. They champion terrestrial scavenging, but they're also great hunters, and there's no way that there's enough predators here, be it wild dogs, be it leopards. Yes, there's a lot. We have a high density of leopards, but the numbers are not enough to sustain every member of the Juma clan, especially lactating mothers. There's no way they survive just on the scraps that they get from scavenging. These ladies definitely do hunt. Okay, I'm going to stay here a little bit longer and hopefully head back to quarantine for the rest of the drive. But for now, let's send you across to Andrew.
Thanks, Lauren. So we come back to Gari Dam. We were hoping to check that the kill that was seen near the camp there, but the other guy went check there. He says that there's nothing, there's no cat, but there's a kill still up in a tree. So I decided to wait here a little bit. Looks like all birds, water birds are here. But I'm trying to zoom through enough that I can't tell if it's a grey heron or it's a bluff heron, which is one of the, if it's a bluff heron, it's one of the species that we don't often find, especially near Gari Dam. But it's actually very dark. I'm just using infrared light. It could be that, it's just so dark, and maybe it's a grey heron. I'm not sure. I'm just going to take a silent moment of a silence, listen to all the frogs, all happiness on this dam. So what do we now discover? There's actually yellow bull stock in the ground, and also looks like a probably noble duck or pom duck, I think. And it's been fantastic just to listen to the sound here. So I'm going to carry on, check around on a few roads here. Hopefully we come across a cat before it's too late.
Starting to get a little bit more active here. Who's arrived on the scene? Is it Sutu again? I think it's Sutu. Now bear in mind, when I discuss the hierarchy, again, it's just speculation. You can really only confirm through observations. That's why we spend time here, trying to understand the dynamics. I'm a firm believer that there's a lot about spotted hyenas we don't understand. It's 2 greeting ceremonies happening at the one time.
Thank you so much. I'm closing down for the evening.
Stuck in bed, you're saying it would be cool to see a little Junette. Junette, I like it. We can work with that for now. I'd love to see it again. We got really, really lucky last night. It's got introduced to many clan members. And it really started. It's the furthest from the dentrance that I've seen the little one venture. Possibly happens more regularly, but it's definitely the furthest I've seen it. I've got to see the whole body. Very, very fat little tummy. It's obviously full of milk. June's doing a good job, at least. But with the hyenas, I think it's important to note that although we see them a lot now at the den, when they stop using the den so much, come winter, this will all change, and we can go through periods of really not seeing the hyenas for a long time, and we almost lose touch with them, lose track of what's actually going on. Ribbon is remarkable in her own way. She's always so relaxed. George, you've asked a great question, because for a long time in science that was not fully understood. Oh, is June leaving? Please don't leave, June. Yes, for a long time it was not fully understood about how hyenas know their ranking. And there was lots of different theories about how on earth that actually happens, and it wasn't until they studied it. They went into quite a deep study about how they know, and it was basically thought, is their rank inherited through genetics, the direct transfer of genes from mother to daughter, nature basically, or was it prenatal sort of exposure to maternal hormones? So is it a hormonal control where the fetus who's developing during the gestation period understands their rank? Not understands, but is it based on hormones? Again, nature. Or, third option, is it nurture? Is it postnatal maternal behavior? So what that means is, obviously when the cub's born, they learn from their mother. It's the mother's behavior. Mother does, cub does. Through observations. So the study went really into that because social dominance in hyenas is really providing fitness benefits. So how do they understand? How do they know? And of course there's a silver spoon effect that quite clearly runs through the whole hierarchy. And basically, to cut a long story short, out of those 3 distinct pathways, nature versus nurture, 2 nature examples, 1 nurture, the study actually resulted in nurture. It was demonstrated that even using surrogates and adopted cubs in various different captive settings, that it was best explained through postnatal maternal behaviour. They're learning from their mum. And that's what I was referring to about Corky's little cub. When Corky's daughter acted very dominant over June last night, it wasn't overtly aggressive, but it was dominant. She's learned that from her mum. She's learned that from Corky. She's trying to exert her dominance over something, and it was June that was at the other end of it. So it's nepotistic. Silver spoon, just like the royal families, you are born, your life is set up by who your mother is. Your mother's at the top, then that's silver spoon, you're going to be at the top. Your mother's at the bottom, sadly, you're going to be at the bottom, unless she switches things up, which is exactly what Ribbon did. So great question, and that's the answer. Using a surrogate mother in the captive study actually showed that they followed the rank of the surrogate. So it wasn't genetic, it wasn't prenatal hormones. It's behaviour. Lucy, I can't believe you've asked that question. Great minds think alike. Marcel and I have just exchanged a few glances. We have been hit with something very absurd. I'm not entirely sure where it came from. Well, I do know exactly where it came from, but who it's come from, I don't know. Other than that, yes, I can smell the hyenas. I can smell the den on the approach. I normally know if the hyenas arrive by smell before sight because the bush is so dense and thick, and I like it. Not their scats, which we are being hit with right now, but I like the smell of the cubs. It's quite a milky smell. It's... how do you describe a hyena cub smell? I'm lost for words, actually. It's a lot softer than the adults. It's quite earthy. That's probably the best I can do right now, but there's quite a milky element to the cubs. Obviously not when they've just finished a carcass, but it's really, really a lovely smell for me. And it's very strong. So yes, in answer to your question, Lucy, I can definitely smell them. It's lovely coming at this time of night using infrared and seeing the den active. Different Lucy. Nice to hear from both Lucys. The cubs, yes. The cubs will sleep in the den, all 6 of them. There's 6 now. Ribbon's boys, Hart's daughter and son, Corky's daughter, and June's Junette. Yes, they sleep in the den every time. And it's quite remarkable because this particular termite mound is clearly still active for the termites in some regard. We saw the alates streaming out the other night. So they're obviously partially using the mound, and it must be a lot larger underground. It's probably been dug out by a porcupine or something of the sorts, and been, well, further developed by the cubs themselves. So yes, Lucy, they do sleep inside the mound. The mothers, no. The adults, no. They may snooze here during the day, but generally speaking, very, very shortly, Ribbon's going to wake up and she's going to investigate. They're nocturnal after all. torn between staying here a little longer or racing to quarantine. Yes, I think I'm going to race to see if I can find the culprit behind that kill, but we're going to send you across to Andrew to see if he's had any luck.
Thanks, Lauren. So we're in this position of the western side of quarantine, and there is a lot of impalas. Then the minute we approach the open area, they will all run into the middle of the open area there. And we waited to see if there is anything, and they're all just gonna give alarm call at the same time. And then, but I called the other vehicle to have a look on the other side, the eastern end of the quarantine, and we're checking in the western end. So whatever it is, it's a leopard. If she or he lying down flat, since he gets spotted by the impalas, until we get mobile again, it's going to be a little difficult for us because we can't off-road or try and look around this behind the bushes. But maybe there is a leopard around here in quarantine because the remain of the kill is still up in the tree. Nothing eaten in there. So I believe it was because of a lot of movement around near the camp, and that's why that leopard couldn't stick around. Maybe it's a talamba. Put a scrub here over here. Got a scrub here. Right there, moving in. So, just gonna see your friend. Simon, you're right there. Got a scrub here. That is also taking its own time. Jumping around here, feeding. But now, you know, we're actually far western end of the quarantine. This is far too much from those impala where they were probably running from the southern eastern end. And it's close to Tumbeta camp there where all also activity, a lot of movement as well. And then now they all seems to stop. So remember the scene actually, maybe a killing last night, somebody killed from their group. And every time there is a suspicious or any movement or any sense, smell that could sometimes smell a cat around or dangerous animal, they're all aware immediately. And they're so blessed that they have this quarantine open area. And they still get disturbed sometimes, even though they remain in a group. When they get hunted in the pouring rain, lightning, it's quite difficult for them to understand or move away from the scene immediately because they don't actually smell anything or hear anything besides the rain pouring and all the wind blowing. So I'm going to check slightly from here. And then we'll check also the axis road. And we're going to go back to that, or the other guys, maybe they've been there. Could have killed that I haven't heard yet. It's actually very... That's a very good question, everyone. It's actually not scary driving around in a bush like this. Especially that I'm not alone, so I have Simon with me and we're on a car and we had a light that's still working, shining around us. It's not scary at all. The scary part is when you may be stuck and the car, you don't have a communication to somebody who can help you. That sometimes can be a little scary because nobody can find you and you don't have a communication radio, no any PC that can help to communicate, so that's a little scary, but of course for now, no, it's not really scary. It does feel like scary, but it's not. So yeah, let's carry on, check around access road there, hopefully we'll get luck.
insane is that animal?
This is out of this world. Fantastic. Good, Mama.
Wow, what a way to start off. Just such an incredible privilege to be out here. It just keeps on delivering.
There you go, there you go. Heart is pumping right now.
3, 2, 1. You are live, you are live.
Look at this, everybody. We've got a live kill.
The crock's holding the tail. It's holding tight. Lucky wildebeest.
There's nowhere to go. This is a disaster in the making.
Something that I have never seen before in my entire life that you are now watching live.
My heart is in my mouth, everybody.
Look at this. It's gonna make it. It's going, it's going.
This is just too magical. Hi, little guys. That's great, isn't it? Look at that. Scuba Steve has got a friend.
You've got a friend in me.
It couldn't be a better morning. This is just too special.
Oh my goodness, we've got a turtle.
How epic is the fact that we're coming to you live from the Chobe River? It's the most incredible feeling to be here. This is live and we're in Rwanda. This is a very, very different adventure, charged with emotion.
I did not think I would ever face my fears like this. We came back, we raced Ferrari Safari. No luck. Nothing is here. It's been abandoned for some reason. And I think maybe the assumption that that we know of, there are 3 abandoned carcasses. I can only imagine it maybe the weather last night really did have something to do with these choices. And that's not to say the leopard might not come back. It's definitely a leopard if it's been hoisted like this. But there's not a single peep, no eye shine, no tracks. I'm glad we came around, but I'm just sad there's not a leopard there. Three abandoned carcasses in one day is a lot, so there has to be a common factor, and the only common factor that I can think of for sure is the weather, at least from last night. Awful weather. Is that IR light just gone out, Marcello? Okay, then unfortunately we can't show you that carcass. I mean, you have seen it enough already. We're having a little bit of a malfunction with our IR light at the moment. It just sometimes does not want to work. So we're going to bumble to camp since we're here already. But I will keep an eye on this carcass and we'll definitely check first thing in the morning. So of course, it came to that time of night where we must say goodbye. Thank you everyone who jumps on board, all your positive contributions, all your comments and questions. And we will be out tomorrow if the weather doesn't say otherwise. So please do join us then. Okay, good night.
Features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Good morning and welcome to and beyond Phinda Private Game Reserve, where we've got a beautiful herd of impala. Look at all those little lambs playing in the morning light. And amongst their mothers, mums are all feeding, the youngsters are all playing in the cool of the morning. How exciting is this? What a way to start the morning. There's a whole bunch of Inyala, a whole bunch